when you talk about qualitative analysis, it's not only about talking with people, but there are also a lot of qualitative analysis that is also done based on literature assessment and literature review. Now, so my question would be like, have you done literature assessment and review? Yeah, have you done any literature assessment and review during your, let's say, studies so far? I'm confident that you all have done some sort of like a literature assessment, literature review, yeah, in different contexts, yeah. And here in terms of SDGs, there are also a lot of literature assessment is done to understand synergies and trade-off among different goals. Yeah? For example, this is one of the example here. What we can see is that in terms of rows, all row is saying is about SDG target. Now here it's like for goal number 1 is target 1.1, and then if you look at the column, there is a question like, can the achievement of the target be affected by climate change? And then there is other column B, is there published evidence or of synergies or trade-off between target and the climate action. So what the authors here in this paper did is like, they look at the scientific literature. Yeah, you can see here identified reference in other column. Yeah, and then the region, the region is coming from the literature. Yeah, and then they try to score use this 7 scale framework, -3 to +3, and then try to give certain score and give a logic behind that, why they think that the climate change has or there is a positive linkages between climate change, yeah, or climate issue and the poverty issue. Yeah, so when with the +3 to -3 scale, yeah, and in some cases we can see like there might be both synergies and trade-off. Yeah, and then one can also look at the literature and give some sort of like an explanation of like why this is the case. Now, and we see this not only in terms of this individual papers, yeah, we also see this also in this in IPCC report. Yeah, this is the figure from IPCC special report, 1.5 degree special report, and here we can see that how different SDGs are positively or negatively linked with different energy supply or energy supply and demand issue, and also land issue. Yeah, and they can see here like how confident they are in terms of this supply and this relationship. Now, and one can do that also by looking at the assessment. Yeah, and what we want to say here is like, you can also use one of this similar approach in your future research if you are interested. And one of the important question is that why this sort of literature assessment is needed. And one of the reason would be like, we have to think about like why do you think like this sort of literature assessment is needed? So before going to that question, I would like to make a guess. So can you guess like how many papers are published on the topic sustainable development in a year? In 2022, there was 52,000 paper that I come up to like 400,000 paper or 450,000 paper when I do the search in Scopus using the term sustainable and development. Now, this is the search that is done on Scopus. Yeah, and if you look at yearly basis, in 2022, there was 52,000 paper published only on the topic of sustainable development. Yeah, it's not about sustainable energy, it's not about sustainable water, it's not about sustainable living. So it's only having the word sustainable and development in their keyword, title, or abstract. So we see that there is a bit less number in 2023. This is not because that there is less number of paper in 2023, because this is mainly because this database like Scopus, Web of Science, which I will talk a bit more in a while, there is some time lag to get the record, to get entry in this database. That's the reason that we see a less number of publication in 2023. And we can see that in terms of this graph, yeah, the number of publication is really going up. And then you can see here after 2015 when SDGs were adopted, yeah, after that even we can see this very, very sharp rise of curve. And when there are so many literature published, okay, so let me look at this slide first, and this is for the publication related to SDG 7. This is coming from Elsevier, yeah. So here we can see that only regarding SDG 7, yeah. So Elsevier has mapped around 300 or around 400,000 paper. This is about SDG 7, looking at energy issue. And if you see this across the country, yeah, so this is for in the period of like a 5 years period, 2015 2019, and even in the country, let's say here in the bluish color, like Nepal, they are producing more than 100 paper regarding energy per year in ISI journal, yeah. And if you look at country like China or United States, yeah, it's more than 50,000 paper. Now, if you look at 50,000 paper means, I think roughly it will be like a 100 paper a day or something like that. Nah? So we have 365 days, and then if you publish 100 paper a day, it would be like around 336,000 paper. Nah? And when there is a lot of paper like this published, yeah, and sometimes in science, we have a lot of interesting debate, yeah. And some paper may say one thing, but others may have like other different types of evidence. Yeah? And if you want to talk with policymaker for sustainable development, then a sort of like a synthesis of these evidence is needed. So decision maker need this living evidence synthesis, and we realize this also during this pandemic period. That's why it's really crucial to have like a literature assessment or literature review, and not only for the researcher, yeah, but also for the decision maker to provide like a sound decision making, to provide robust evidence, yeah, based on the publications. And that is what IPCC assessment is doing, yeah, and that is what different other assessment like IP-based assessment is doing. But also people also do that in individual publications. And today, in next few minutes, I would like to highlight a bit more on like how to do this more systematically. Looking at one or two paper may provide some sort of like a bias opinion, yeah, or bias evidence, yeah. That's why there is a need to do a systematic evidence synthesis. And the question is like how to do that. Any opinion? There are also different types of like a review process. So I took this from this Cornell University library page, and here they provide like a decision tree. What type of review is right for you. So depending upon how much time you have, what is your research question, how depth you want to do, yeah, you can do some sort of like a narrative review, or you can also do rapid review, yeah. So I will not go through this decision tree because this will be there. You will get this decision tree with the slides, yeah, so you can have a look better. The main message here is like the review could be different, yeah. So it could be like a very simple one, starting with this narrative review or rapid review, yeah, or more systematic review, or even meta-analysis, where the idea is to collect the data provided in the literature, yeah, and then to provide some sort of like a meta-analysis of those data, and then based on that give some recommendation, yeah. For example, meta-analysis is quite common in medical science, yeah, because of this large number of studies, they do a meta-analysis, and based on that some recommendations are done, yeah. So we have to think about what is our question, yeah, and based on that how much time we have, and based on that we can choose one of those methods to do systematic literature analysis. And systematic literature analysis is also gaining popular nowadays in different fields, to let's say to compile the knowledge what is there for the evidence synthesis. And then here I would like to briefly go through these 11 steps for evidence synthesis. Because first, whenever you want to synthesize the evidence, the question would be like, what is your resource question? Why you are doing the evidence synthesis of what? First, you have to have a very clear research question, because research question is important. Without any research question, you can't start doing that. So first, think a bit about research question. What you want to solve by providing by doing this evidence synthesis. And the second would be to look at literature database. So there are different literature database. For example, here the example is like Scopus and Web of Science. So which is two database where mainly this ISI publications are there, which are peer-reviewed publications are there. But so are you familiar with, or maybe like I need to ask it in a different way? Both Scopus and Web of Science are one need to is a subscription based. Either one need to subscribe personally or institutional subscription is needed. Otherwise even to search this database, search literature on this database is really tricky if you are not in university or research institute. So and the question would be like, since it's quite tricky to search literature from home, or so what are other literature database that you use to search this search literature? One of the popular database that most of us use is Google Scholar, which also have a lot of papers over there. Only issue with Google Scholar is that it contains everything. It contains everything means like it doesn't only contain scientific or peer-reviewed scientific articles. It also contains documents which are not peer-reviewed and also great literature. So one need to be careful when you are choosing your database there. And then once you choose your database, the next step is like is about how to search your literature. Now, based on your purpose, what you have is that you want to define some keywords. And then the question, what matters is like how you use this question keywords. If you search like for example here, sustainable and development, or so you will get a different set of literature based on different operator. Here the example is like sun screen and skin. And then you can see that if you choose "and," you will get a set of literature which is provided here, stated here in a bluish color. And it says like if you use "and" as an operator, you will go get the literature that contains sun and the screen. You will not get like a sun screen and skin. If there is no skin mentioned in that literature, you will not get it. And here it's mainly on title, abstract, and keyword. But if you use or, you will get like here in this drug and medicine, you will get every literature where it says like drug or medicine. But there is also other operator like here not. For example, here zebra, and the interesting is like we are looking at zebra as an animal, not as a fish. So here if you use "and," then you will, what you can see here is like you will get only zebra, but not those who are talking about zebra fish. So it's really crucial to choose like a right set of keyword search strategy when you are looking at literature. Otherwise, what you will be doing is that in some cases you may need to look for like a vast amount of literature. But if you choose, let's say, not there, then you are looking at a small set. Or if you choose "and," you are looking at a small set. But sometimes you need to look at a small set. But if you are not using "not" or "and," then what you will be ending is like you are getting a lot of literature, and that might be really problematic. So you can test this also in your later on, play with around using one of those database that you have access to. But it's not only these operators. There are also let's say things like wildcard. Wildcard, like if you put like a question mark or this hashtag, not tag, but hash mark here. So you will get a different result. For example, there are in terms of language, sometimes same thing are spelled in different way. Yeah, if you are looking for British or American language, and for color, yeah, if you put question mark or hash, it will result both let's say both colors or both spellings, and you can do that for different spellings in your search engine. Other would be when you talk about certain word like development. Yeah, so we are not only interested on development, we may be interested also in developing or develops. Yeah, so there is also this thing called asterisk, which can be used for representing truncations. Here one example here is like if you put child and asterisk, it will not give the result only on child, but it will also give like a child's, children's, childhood, all those keywords or words where which could be filled afterwards. Yeah, and this asterisk can also be used before the word, not only after but also before the word, so that this prefix and suffix could be covered. And then it's not only looking at these keywords in separate, but one can also use all this operator in combination. For example, for one of my study, I use on urban agriculture, what I did is like I'm using this word urban, because in urban it might be peri-urban, yeah, it might be in pure form and so on. That's why I use this asterisk before and after. But urban can also call like the city or cities. So this could be another term that is used. Same here for agriculture. Yeah, I'm interested on urban and I'm interested on agriculture. Yeah, that's why I use like urban, because in urban there could be different term. That's why I use or. And then I'm looking for agriculture, but it's not only about agriculture. It's sometimes it's also called garden. Sometimes it's also called farm, and some paper may talk about agriculture, but without explicitly mentioning agriculture, they may talk more about food. So that's why I also include food. And then to restrict a bit, I also thought about like at least they need to say something about urban farm or a type of urban agriculture here. And you can make such a combination of your keywords, yeah, and try to narrow down your search or broaden your search. For example, if I use and Nepal, then I will get only paper related to urban agriculture in Nepal or Thailand. So if you are interested on some specific region, or if I want to know something about issues like climate change, then I can also say like, okay, I'm interested on climate change issues. So I put like a climate change, yeah, then I would look at paper who are talking about urban agriculture in context of climate change only. So you have to think about how you search the keywords. Now, instead of, let's say you are interested on energy sustainability in Myanmar, yeah, so instead of writing like energy sustainability in Myanmar, yeah, you can do a bit more in a systematic way, create a syntax, yeah, so that you will limit your literature search here. And here is one example here. So what I did is that I searched this word sustainable development. And another thing that I haven't mentioned here is that when you look at this, you can also search not only the word but also the phrases, because when I search sustainable development with this quotation mark, yeah, we get the papers that talk about sustainable development as a phrase, not like sustainable and a development in a separate word. Yeah, there are also way to look at how these words could be near or apart. Like there is a command say that I want to look at the word if they are nearby 3 words, because sometimes the development is sustainable. So it sometimes it is also used like that. And in Google Scholar, if I type sustainable development, we get around 2 million literature here or around 2,800,000 literature. And another example is like if I just use sustainable and development, I'm getting like 4,500,000 literature here. And then if I use sustainable or development, I'm getting here like 500 million literature here. And then interestingly, if I do, let's say, sustainable minus development, because in Google Scholar, it doesn't use not, but it has this different operator. It's used minus, yeah. And if I use this minus sign, then I'm getting only 2,400,000 papers. Yeah, these are the papers or studies which talk about sustainable, but it doesn't have the word development over there. Now, it might be sustainable energy, sustainable housing, and so on. Similarly, one can also use this wildcard or concretions, yeah. And if you do that, we can see that a lot of papers are there. It's more than 5 million, and these are the papers who talk about not about only about sustainable development. It might be like sustainability developing and so on, yeah. So you have to think about what is your research question, and based on that you have to use a proper way to search your. So there are also other next step, but before that, you have to also develop a protocol how you do this search, literature search. Uh, this is a really important thing, because in science, what we want to do is like science need to be replicable. If you do certain thing, yeah, and report it, if someone else do the same thing, it need to be also replicable. So that's why this statement is really crucial. And there is a famous method called preferred reporting items for systematic review and meta-analysis, this prisma statement, yeah. And there is a way to report that, like how much records you identified. And normally when people are looking at the literature, instead of using only one database, they use multiple database as once. Like for example, people use Web of Science and Scopus together, yeah. And there are always this duplication in the record, and this duplication need to be removed. And then there is this screening process. I come to that in a while, yeah. And then there is a certain number of literature that will be reviewed, and one need to report this number, yeah. And this is one of the crucial aspects. So whenever you are doing systematic literature review, yeah, you need to keep this in mind. Like you need to have some sort of like a prisma statement also for your review. This may not be needed for your the literature review you do for writing your master thesis, because normally whenever we do research, we start with literature review, because we have to understand where the literature stands for, yeah. And that is more like a not a systematic literature review in terms of review paper. It is more like a day-to-day review as a researcher we need to do, yeah, because we need to understand what is the gap in the literature before we proceed forward with our literature, without research. And then once you collect all those databases, there is also needed certain type of citation management, yeah. Because when you are looking for, like when you have like 100 papers in your folder, after some point you will forget like what this paper is all about. So have you anyone using any citation management or reference management system? Are you aware about any of those sites? So it's really nice that you can choose. There are ways to. There are plugins you can use for Windows, yeah, or OpenOffice, and then you can directly cite the paper from there, yeah, so that you can have the hyperlink and so on, yeah. So whenever you are writing your report or something like that, and when you want to do the reference, yeah, I would encourage you to explore one of these techniques, one of this system to do that. And also this sort of software management, or reference management system is also valuable also during your systematic literature review. So this is really interesting thing, and this is really great that you are using that. One of the important thing here is that, okay, so I thought that there is an animation, is that once you have your literature, yeah, and you can use Mendeley or one of those reference management system and look at title and abstract of those literature. And since when you do this literature search, they are looking at keywords and so on, there might be always the case that you may also get a lot of literature that might not be relevant. Now, here is an example. When I look at urban agriculture topic, I got a paper like this, which talk about simulating ocean acidification and CO2 linkages from, yeah, blah blah blah. It's quite clear that this paper is not about urban agriculture. But what software does is like it look at city here, yeah, and then it look at classes here, yeah, from the toxicity. There might be somewhere also regarding food or farm or somewhere, and this is how like the software try to recognize, let's say, different papers, yeah, and what may happen is that in your reference system or in your literature records, there might be a lot of non-relevant paper, yeah, and for that what you need to do is like first you need to screen the title and reference, title and abstract, read title and abstract, and then try to see whether this is let's say relevant or not. And this is an example here. If you see here, all those, let's say, this reddish dot or orange dot is not relevant paper, and then you can see this greenish dot, these are relevant paper, yeah. So only the fraction of the paper is relevant, yeah, and a lot of unrelevant paper is there. And one of the time-consuming process during systematic literature review is this screening, yeah. And increasingly, there are also like a machine learning assisted screening tools available there, yeah. And this is one of the example saying that when we do the manual screening up to here, what we can see is that if we are screening like around 4,000 document, there is only around 250, let's say, relevant document. But after feeding this training this relevant document into machine learning algorithm, yeah, one can also get the ranking of the relevant document, yeah. And after that, the learning curve is quite steep. So what we can see here is that after here, this is for the 50,000 paper, yeah, on urban agriculture, and one can screen, it is fine to screen only 12,000 paper to get all the relevant literature here, yeah. So it's not needed to look at all the 50,000 paper here, because with machine learning supported system, one can also do this rapid learning or train the machine learning system to predict the relevant papers, yeah, and then do that. And when you are dealing with a lot of literature, this could be one way to go forward. And then one of the crucial thing is like after you screen the literature, there might be also some biases in some papers. So you have to also know like what is the quality of the paper you are looking at, and then another issue would be that there might be also some literature that might be missing, yeah, maybe some important grade literature or the new publication, yeah. You may also include those new publication grade literature in your literature review or in your literature database for further processing, when you are aware about that. And then now we have a bunch of paper we want to review, yeah, and the question is like what we want to do with that. Now we have to extract the data out of that. The data could be, if we are doing meta-analysis, the data could be, let's say, certain numbers. For example, if I'm interested on crop yield in urban agriculture, then I look at the papers and then I will abstract the information on how much yield are there, how much crop is produced across different crop types, across different cities and so on, and create my metadata set or my own data set based on this. So this could be more like a data abstraction. But if I'm interested on certain text, then or certain characteristics, then I have to read the paper and then extract that qualitative information manually. And when there are a lot of papers out there, what one can do is also use a method called topic modeling, yeah, which is more like a statistical model that develops and discover abstract topic from a set of documents. Now, so it look at the document and then try to predict some sort of like a clustering the word together, yeah, and try to predict a number of topics that this document could let's say this document could represent. Now, and then second thing would be one can also use text mining and natural language processing to know more about like what is there in those literature. Yeah, and here is an example. So this is the paper that was published yesterday only. Nah? So here what we did is like we looked at urban agriculture based on the literature search that I showed before, yeah. And there what we did is like we looked at we started with around 70,000 records, 70,000 records when we combined with Web of Science and Scopus, yeah. And then we removed the duplicates, and then we screen the paper for relevancy, and then we use this machine learning to identify the relevant paper. And then what we did is that we try to download all those PDFs. And downloading PDF is really problematic, because even here at Potsdam Institute, we don't have access to all the journals. And we have to use secondary or other sources like ResearchGate to get all those documents. And once we have documents, like we collected around 1,500 papers now, and reading 1,500 papers and extracting information from them takes time. Therefore, what we did is like we did the topic modeling approach and try to identify how many topics are there in the literature in terms of urban agriculture. And we identified these 14 topics. And we will and these topics are represented by these words. So if you look at these words are not so clear. It's just a words, and one need to interpret these words further, like reading those reading the paper and try to understand, like, okay, topic 1 is about small scale ground based system, because there are a lot of word, let's say community, which is about community garden, allotment garden, or homegrown garden, and so on. Yeah. So topic 2 is about building the integrated system, because there is this roof is mentioned, light is mentioned, building is mentioned, vertical is mentioned, and so on. One need to do such interpretation, and this is one of the example here. And second is like is about the text mining. So what one can also do is like here in terms of SDGs, we are looking at these words, like in those documents, what we are looking is that we are looking for the word like this is example for SDG target 1.1, and we are looking whether there is this text related to poverty, eradication, reduction is mentioned or not. And we try to map these keywords, yeah, in the text. And then what we try to do is, like we try to extract the sentence says where this text is mentioned. Yeah, so from the PDFs, instead of manually reading based on, let's say, our code in R, we try to extract the text, yeah, and then what we try to do is like we try to understand whether these texts are mentioned in a positive way or negative way, whether there is a positive linkages between urban agriculture and SDG 1.1 or the negative linkages. And then the next step is to manually analyze those texts and to understand the mechanism. For example, what we got is that when we look at those 1,500 papers, we can map all the 17 SDGs here, which might not be surprising, because 17 SDGs are quite broad. For me, the surprising thing is that we can map not all 169 targets, but more than 140 targets with urban agriculture. Yeah, so one can do similar exercise for energy, for water, for climate issues, and so on. Yeah, and what we are doing now is like we are trying to extract the understanding on the mechanism why this is the case. So this is one of the approach one can do to understand the interlinkages between SDGs based on available literature. And this is more like we call it like evidence synthesis. And looking at this evidence synthesis or these evidences, we can say that why there is a positive linkages between two SDGs or negative linkages between two SDGs. Now, and this sort of information we might not get this sort of information if we rely only on quantitative analysis. So yeah, so this is the paper I was mentioning. Yeah, and one of the main messages here is like in research, in any of the research, it's not enough to show like this is the data I got. Nah? What as a researcher, what we need to do is like we need to interpret this data. And this is really crucial when we do the literature analysis, nah? Because whatever literature you are, whatever method you are using, even for the narrative review, you need to provide the narration by yourself. Yeah, and this is more like you need to synthesis your result. Nah? And here, once the extraction and appraisal of individual, including studies, is completed, the narrative synthesis is required, because that's the interpretation you need to do. Nah? And here in this paper, like our narration is based on this 5 key highlights. Nah? Saying that, okay, we did this systematic review and identified 14 topics on urban agriculture, which varies especially and temporally, because we also look at how this topic evolved across time and space. Yeah, urban agriculture provides socioeconomic and environmental benefits besides foods. That is one of the key results. Urban, and then it's not only very good thing about urban agriculture, it also has its own challenges. And that's why the other key message here is like urban agriculture faces challenges of inefficient practices and health risks, and so on. So we synthesize these evidences on, and then give a narrative about that. And this is really needed now, whatever you do later on. So we already discussed a bit about other methods, but still I would like to come back to you with this question, like what are the other methods for qualitative analysis? So can you repeat again, like what are the other methods? We already heard from the during the discussions before. Yeah, so it might be nice to know from those who haven't spoke so far, or who aren't been vocal so far in the class. There are also different methods to do quantitative analysis. So one of the method is questionnaire survey. And questionnaire survey, yeah, so it could be also quantitative, because one can also develop quantitative questionnaire to get quantitative information, but questionnaire survey can also be done for obtaining qualitative information. So I will not read this text, but maybe the class would be like, have you done questionnaire survey? If yes, what sort of tools have you used for questionnaire survey? So here, one of the interesting thing we need to know is like there are ways to design questionnaires. So not to have biased opinion while designing. So and then we can already see also in the chat that there are different ways. Now I just put here like traditional way is to use paper-based questionnaire. Yeah, you have a printed questionnaire in your paper, and then you take the answers. Yeah. And then other would be like there is this Survey Monkey, there is this Google Forms, yeah, and there are also other, let's say, professionals or other softwares, so which could be used, yeah. And then here it's called like a Kobo, yeah. So nowadays one can also develop a questionnaire in your mobile, yeah, and then also for tablets. So it's quite handy. The next step after collecting these questionnaire survey data is also to how we call this to check the data quality. This is also one of the important thing. So second thing would be like a semi-structured interview. Like anyone conducted semi-structured interview before? So this is one of the methods that is often used in social science. Have someone done the semi-structured interview? Yeah, and in semi-structured interview, normally it's like as it says by its own let's say naming, it's semi-structured. Now there is some structure, there is some framework, but it's not completely how we call it, it's guided by or all the questions are not there now, or not structured. Now like here there are some framework, and you be within that framework after having some questions, you can also introduce new questions to the interview. And semi structured interviews are also used often in social science to understand different aspects. So one of the semi-structured interview could be also this key informant interview, which are also practiced in different communities for different to answer different questions. So you might be doing such semi-structured interviews if you are using qualitative analysis in your thesis or in your future research later on. And then there is, when you do this interview or qualitative analysis, not only with the individual but more in a group. So it's there is also this thing called like a focal group discussion, where you can do a small workshop or focal group discussion with a small group of people to have their opinions on certain topic. So here moderation and facilitating the process would be quite crucial, because one need to be careful, like whenever you are doing the group discussion, you have to also understand the power dynamic, and you have to also look at like everyone can provide their opinions. Like I was like before, there was this interventions saying about similar focal group discussion about this electricity issues for refugees. And if you put different stakeholders together where people feel uncomfortable to speak, then you are not getting let's say the answer you want to have now, or you are not getting right answers, because people may become too shy to speak up. So one can also do this focal group discussions and abstract information, and this could be also used for in the context of climate change. And when you do this focal group discussion, not only with the stakeholders, but also this focal group discussions are also done with expert. Mainly it's called like an expert elicitation, which is like a structured approach to systematically consult expert on certain issues when there is not much information available in the literature or in the data sets. This expert elicitation is also a process that is widely used. And if you look at SDG interactions paper, you will find a lot of SDG interactions paper that also use expert elicitation process. For example, if you are interested to look at interactions of something, but some, let's say, SDGs and climate change adaptation, then what you can also do is that together with literature analysis, or you can also talk with experts, a group of experts, and then have their opinion or do expert elicitation to understand what does that mean. And here I just took this figure about different steps of expert elicitation, which you can also look further in detail if you are planning to use one of those experts here. Here we are also trying to show like how we use this approaches. So this is our joint work where Professor Dakal was also involved. It took around, I don't know, half a year, 9 months time. This is mainly the work we started when during the start of pandemic. It was, I think, the initial conversation was started somewhere in March 2020. And the idea here is that we would like to know the impact of pandemic on SDGs in Nepal, and for that, because it was quite early period of pandemic, we don't know what is happening, and it was the period where the lockdown has just started, or was starting across the world. And what we did is that we try to collect some experts together, from Nepal, so around 50 experts, and then we sit together to understand like what would be the impact of COVID on SDGs. And here, since there is no data, we try to do that based on the method that I already mentioned before, this qualitative methods. The problem with literature analysis or literature synthesis is that for literature synthesis, there's need to be literature. When there is no literature, we can't do literature synthesis. So that's why we can't do literature. We are not able to do literature synthesis by then. But we use other approach, mainly talking with experts, doing focal group, doing questionnaire survey, and so on. For that, what we did is like we started with a questionnaire survey designed in Google form, and this questionnaire survey was targeted for each SDGs. And then what we did here is that we try to we provided this questionnaire to different experts, and then in total we conducted 40 workshops, like one workshop per each SDGs, to understand the opinion of the expert on impact of COVID on SDGs. This is all these things were done online. And one of the important point when we talk about such a diverse issue is to have participants from diverse field. That's why this exercise was not normally done with academia only. We do have a lot of participants also from government sector, NGO, INGO, business, freelancer, even policymakers was there, and also this international organizations was also there during this exercise or during this study. So one of the messages for you is like, when you are having this very broad analysis, consider to have diverse stakeholders. Even if you are looking at one stakeholder group, thinks about diversity in terms of gender, in terms of age group, in terms of let's say social class, because they may have different opinion, they may have different roles. And then here what we did is like we use this framework. I think this framework is becoming now quite popular in this lecture. So this is the fourth time. And what we did is like we asked expert to say the question like, what do you think the impact of COVID on SDG 1.1? Do you think it's highly positive or is highly negative? And why this is the case? So we asked them to score +3 to -3, and then we asked them to provide the region. We did that first on the questionnaire survey, and then during the workshop, what we did is like we present the result we obtained during the questionnaire survey, and then we try to get some sort of like a consensus among the experts over there, saying that, okay, what do you think? Like, we got this result, we have this range of answer. What do you think about that? Can we have a consensus about certain impact? And then we also ask like, why you think this is the case? So this sort of things can also be done. And there is also this other method called Delphi method, which also goes a bit more in a similar way or in a similar direction, but it could have more iteration might be needed for Delphi method. So if you are interested, you can also look at what does this Delphi method mean later on. And then what we did here is that after this exercise, one of the key results we found here is that COVID has mostly this negative impact across all the SDGs or most of the SDGs during the short period of time. And then here the short period of time means like up to like 2 years. And then up to 5 years in the medium time. Most of the experts says that some of the impacts will remain, and in the long term it might be more like there could be also some positive impact. And one of the key messages here is something like a silver line in the black cloud, is that COVID pandemic not only poses challenges but also opens opportunity for sustainable transformation. And I would say like this is one of the examples here what we are doing today, or what we are doing for last few days now, so we are at different time zone, different locations, and we are having like a hybrid mode of class. If there were no COVID, we could not have even imagined doing such hybrid class from combining like students from 2 different universities, and also having a lecturer from different institutes coming together and having and offering a course together. So this sort of sustainability transformation opportunities was seen there. One other example would be like During that time, mountain was visible from Kathmandu. Yeah, so with the clear visibility, with less air pollution due to less industrial activities, but also due to less traffic. Unfortunately, when Sarnai was there in Kathmandu last year, she was not able to see mountains. But during that time, due to this clean air, it was visible. So there are some positive impact which was short term, but there was also like this opportunity for sustainable transformation. And then most important thing that we are discussing is why this is the case, why there are positive impact, why there are negative impact. And here in this work, we try to extract this information, why it is the case. And for each of those impact or the score, we do have, there is a piece of text, like a paragraph of text explaining why this is the case. And one can do SDG interactions research based on expert opinions, based on literature, and document that like this here, explaining why there is positive impact, why there is negative impact. And this is one of the or some of the quantitative analysis we can use to understand SDG interactions. When there is a lot of literature like this, 1,500 papers, to be honest, it might not be enough possible to read all the papers. But the main thing is like to have a feeling on what is going on, what directions. And what this topic modeling is an approach that try to provide a number of topic that is there in the literature. So this 14 topics were identified by the model, because there is also a way, like if you have done cluster analysis, you can like claim in clustering or hierarchical clustering. So what you can do is that you can provide some sort of like a cluster number, and then software will cluster your data into certain numbers. And what is one of the most important step is to identify right number of the cluster, because if the cluster is too much, then there might be a lot of overlap. If the cluster is too less, if the cluster is too less, there might be a lot of overlap. If cluster is too much, that is also a problem, because it's really hard to interpret and so on. And we identified here 14 cluster or 14 topics based on this optimum number. And after that, once the paper is there, once we identify the 14 topics, we look at how probable are this topic in those 1,500 papers. And then there are like in some topic there are like let's say 100 papers. In other there are other 100 papers. And then we look at key papers on those topics, like randomly we look at the paper and try to build the narrative and the storyline out of that. That's why the synthesis of the story is really crucial. If I'm not doing any systematic literature review for certain topic, I quickly look at Google Scholar, because that provides like a very good overview on what is there. And I find it more handy. So that's why I look. I even in day-to-day life I use Google Scholar, because that's provide like a very good overview. And then I look at at least like 10 pages of Google Scholar to have a nice overview. In Google Scholar, it will provide a lot of records. That's one point, but the most important point is like there is no systematic way to download this record, because there is no systematic way to get the abstract, all the author information, maybe, but not the abstract as in Web of Science or Scopus. And in Web of Science and Scopus, these are renowned database, and there one can get all those all those records. And here the records means mainly the bibliometric records about title, abstract, authors, publishers, and then maybe also references. But this database will not allow you to get the PDFs or the full text of the article. Full text of the article you need to get from other sources. So normally for systematic literature review, I use Scopus and Web of Science, because in Web of Science the entry is quite it takes time. There are some delays. Scopus might be a bit faster, nah? And I have seen many combine these two databases. But there are also other databases for medical field, Medline or something like that. Nah? So people also use other database as well. And when you are doing systematic literature review, a suggestion is to use more than one database to be more comprehensive as possible. I'm not a social scientist, but definitely social scientists also use a lot of observation method to collect data. Nah? So as Robia already mentioned here, yeah, in focal group discussions or semi-structured interview, they always have, let's say, this interview note or discussion note, yeah, and this discussion note not only collect what people are saying, but also try to collect body language. Nah? And there are in no, it's not, yeah, in anthropology, yeah, even like in terms of like a visual anthropology and so on, researcher doesn't do anything. They just go and observe, nah, and collect data. Yeah, so there are different. That's also a method used in different science. Yeah, I don't know in which extent we can use this for SDGs, nah, or SDG interactions research. The citizen science is also going, yeah. So there is a discussion going on, yeah, like for example using citizen, like when there are a lot of screening, if there is a screening is not needed to done for 50,000 or 100,000 paper, nah, and then sometimes this doesn't need like a senior researcher. It could be done by master's student or someone with a master degree, yeah. And there is also this idea to have some sort of like a citizen science based screening approach, nah? And the idea is like it's not like one paper is screened by one person, but maybe one paper could be screened by multiple person, yeah, and then screen that, nah? And this could also holds not only for this literature analysis, but also for other qualitative analysis. The citizen science knowledge co-creation is one of the very crucial part. But also for measurement, like there is also the citizen science on small weather stations that could be installed at house or rooftops and so on. So this is also emerging field. Polling and all this thing. Now, so there are also literature or people who analyze Twitter text or Facebook. I haven't seen much in the Facebook, but because Facebook post is not easily accessible, taken out now. But I think Twitter could be now with the hashtag and so on. And there are people who analyze Twitter text now. So when you talk about this analysis, this analysis is not only about scientific literature. It could be about any literature, like a policy document or even speeches, or tweets, and there are papers who analyze these tweets and then try to relate that into different positive, negative sentiments, yeah, and so on, and on certain topic.